Let's talk about the exam pattern, students. So again, it's a very good chapter which will fetch good marks for you. Of course, students, find the solutions for yourself. Once you get the test paper, it is also important that we read the instructions carefully. If you'll spend too much of time on a particular section, of course. Hello students, I hope that you're well prepared for your math exam. But in today's video, we'll be discussing that how to revise your math syllabus carefully and how to attempt the math paper. So let's begin. For every exam, students, it's really important that we have a strategy and we know the math syllabus and its pattern very well. So ensure that you know that in which unit how many chapters are there, what is their weightage, and what will be the examination pattern, how many number of questions will be there in each section. And of course, we'll be talking about all these things in the upcoming slide. Make a good study plan for yourself, students. Your math exam is on 21st of March. If someone has not opted for Hindi, then surely they will be getting 5 days time, and that is a good time for quick revision. So approximately 4 to 5 hours you can spend on every chapter and its revision. Some chapters will take less time, and that is altogether correct. You can give the spare time to the chapters which are difficult for you and which need more practice. Okay, so accordingly you can, according to the weightage of basically the chapters, you can make a good study plan for yourself and ensure that you stick to it. Okay, after that, students, memorize the formulas and the methods. If there are theorems, what figures will be there, how to write and how to present your answers is really important. And of course, students, find the solutions for yourself. I have seen many students that before exam, they just flip the pages and read the questions and their solutions, which is not at all a good idea. Ensure that you actually write them in the steps. Wherever it is required that you know this particular question needs a practice, ensure that you write the question. Okay, so this is really important for your improvement. And of course, find out that what are the gray areas where you need to work hard and work more to get good marks. Solve the previous year's question papers, and students, I hope that you have those bunch of questions which are really important, your teachers must have suggested, and of course the questions which were going wrong while practicing. All these things are really important to be practiced again before the exam. So utilize those 5 days in completing these questions which are important as well as typical for. And solve some sample papers with respect to time. You know, every day you can attempt one sample paper with respect to time. Sit with the watch and try to finish it as you are preparing for the final exam. After that, students, it's really important that you take care of yourselves and take proper sleep while preparation. It's really important to take care of your health as well. Okay. Now let's talk about the syllabus and the pattern of the paper, students, one by one. Firstly, I'll tell you that in the syllabus, according to the weightage, what all chapters you can start with your revision. Okay. So students, you can see that the first unit is the number system, and which we have real numbers as the chapter. In this real number, students, you will get all the 6 marks, and of course there are only 2 exercises, and the first exercise is deleted by CBSE. So again, it's a very good chapter which will fetch good marks for you, and its weightage is high. Then 20 marks for algebra, students, out of which you can see that quadratic equation will have the highest weightage. So of course you can give preference to quadratic equation. After that, you can start the revision of arithmetic progression and then pair of linear equations, and after that at the end you can go with polynomials because it will be having least weightage. Okay. Then the next unit is coordinate geometry, students. Again, a very good chapter. Only one chapter in this unit, coordinate geometry, and there will be distance formula and the section formula. Only 2 formulas and limited variety of questions. So if you are taking this chapter also in the revision, then of course 6 marks altogether, 1 chapter and only 2 formulas. Then in geometry, students, we have 2 chapters, triangles and circles chapter. In triangles chapter, again, the difficult portion is already deleted and you have to basically do only 2 exercises of NCERT. And for triangles chapter, students, I will firstly say stick to NCERT. Once you know the NCERT, then only go beyond it. Okay. So it's really important to do NCERT questions for this respective chapter in a very good manner. And then circles weightage is little less, so you can decide accordingly. After that, the 5th unit is trigonometry, students. In this, introduction to trigonometry will have higher weightage obviously, but some students find height and distance chapter really easy. So it is again up to you, but the weightage of introduction of trigonometry will be more. Now, if we talk about mensuration, again there are 2 chapters, surface area and volume, and the next is area related to circle. Both these chapters have formula, students. If your interpretation for the question is correct, then again these 2 chapters in which surface area volume weightage is higher, but they are good chapters to score better. Okay, and then of course statistics and probability. In this, statistics have more weightage and almost similar, but statistics and probability can be there for equal number of, like maybe statistics is coming for 6 marks, probability is coming for 5 marks, like that. Okay, so according to the weightage, students, this is the bifurcation how you can start your revision according to the greater weightage. The chapters with a higher weightage you can pick up first for the revision. Now let's talk about the math syllabus as per the ease of learning. That means whatever chapters you will find easy, I have given them higher rating. They will be easier to revise, okay, because their concepts are easy to learn. So basically I have these 3 units. First is number system, students. Only 1 chapter you need to revise, and that will give you 6 marks altogether and easy to learn as well. Then we have statistics and probability, easy to learn and 11 marks total weightage. So they will give you good scoring and they are easy to learn. Then the next I would suggest is over here in the 2nd unit, you can go with arithmetic progression. Only 2 formulas are there, and this chapter is easy to learn. Then we have coordinate geometry, again easy to learn. Circles is easy to learn, students, but because triangles is now, as the syllabus is some of the portion is deleted, then triangles chapter also becomes little easier to do, although you have to stick to NCERT, right? So you can see that according to ease of learning, you can basically start with the 1st unit, number system, then coordinate geometry, in algebra, arithmetic progression, in statistics and probability. Then you can, the rest of the chapters almost they are similar in learning portion. Okay, so this is how you can decide. The easy chapters you can take first and the difficult you can take later. Okay. Now let's talk about the exam pattern, students. You all know there will be 5 sections altogether. Section A to E. So section A, B, C, D and section E will be there. In section A, students, you will be getting 20 questions of 1 mark each, and there will be no choice provided in these questions. Okay, so section A is quite big. You have to be careful because I've seen most of the students, they spend a lot of time in section A and then they don't have sufficient time left for the next sections, right? So please be careful. Always keep an eye on the watch when you are attempting section A. Then section B, students, there will be 5 questions of 2 mark each. So again, it's a very small section which will not take much time of yours. Then section C, students, there will be 6 questions of 3 marks each. Section D will have 4 questions of 5 marks each, and section E is case study based questions, students, where you will be getting 3 questions. The first 2 questions will be of 1 mark each, and the third question will be of 2 marks, in which there will be a choice as well. Okay, now let's talk about the choice. What all sections will give you a choice. So students, there in section B, C and D, you will get choice in 2 questions. Okay, section A, there is no choice in objective type, but in section B, C and D, you will get choice in 2 questions. Okay, and then in the section E, which is case study based, in that there will be, as I said, that every case study based question will have 3 questions. In the third question, which is of 2 marks, there will be a choice. Okay, and in the instruction, students, you will get the last instruction as that wherever it is required, please draw neat figures, and if nothing is no information is given about pi, then you have to by default take pi as 22/7. Otherwise, if it is mentioned in the question that take pi's value as 3.14, then you are bound to take that value. Otherwise 22/7 by default you can take. Okay, so this is about the exam pattern. This pattern you will get in the instructions of your examination. Okay. Now students, let's understand how to attempt the math paper, because at the day of the paper, when you will be sitting in the examination hall, of course you all will be a little worried that how the paper will be, what will be the level of the paper, whether I will be able to manage the time and all. So now let's talk about what are the do's and don'ts of attempting the math paper. So very first students, that you will be getting 15 minutes of reading time, and that is very crucial. Those 15 minutes are really important. Some of the students, they just spend this time in filling up the details in their sheet. So please don't waste these 15 minutes. Properly utilize them to read the question paper and mark that what all questions are familiar and you feel confident in attempting those questions, right? So make a good strategy that, of course, whether I will start from section E to section A or from section A towards section E. So what will be my strategy? What all questions will be there which are familiar and I know they will fetch marks for me. So make a plan and execute it once your test paper will begin. Now, once you get the test paper, it is also important that we read the instructions carefully. Although the instructions we already discussed, the same instructions you will get in your paper, okay, but still we should read the instructions carefully. After that, students, keep the examination paper neat and clean and write in steps always. Okay, so for every 3 and 5 and 4 mark questions, ensure that we are writing sufficient information with figure, with given, to, prove and construction and then prove. All these steps are written carefully. The proper reasoning is written with every 3 and 5 mark questions especially. Okay, and don't write the answers in too short even if it's a 2 mark question. Okay, so write sufficient information. Then after that, students, when it's important that if we are writing the question number correctly or not. Okay, if you are starting from section A towards section E, I would suggest complete all the questions of section A firstly. If you don't know any question, leave some space for that and just move on to the next question. Why so? Because if we are leaving some space for that question, it always reminds us that later on I have to come back and I have to fill this space because I left this question. Okay, so yes, you should do the familiar questions first, but it is also good to finish a section together. Okay, so if you started with section A, finish all the questions of section A, leave space for the questions which are little bit doubtful. Okay, and now once you started writing what all things you have to take care, ensure that you are not writing too much for 1 mark question, students, because if you are just writing the correct option and its respective answer, for example, let's say option B is 100 centimeters square. So if you are writing question number 7, option B 100 centimeters square, that is sufficient. Whatever working, it is not important to show the working of 1 mark questions. Instead, you can just make a space on the right side of the page. You can give it a name of calculation column or rough column, and over there you can do its working and then write the final answer. Okay, so that will help you out. Avoid calculation errors, students. Sometimes what happens when we are doing calculations, we feel that it is taking too much of time. You can skip that part. You can move on to the next question. It's important to maximize our attempt for the test paper instead of spending too much of time in that same calculation. So you can skip it for this time being, later on come back and finish your calculations. And it's really important that you revisit your calculations in exam. In the last 20 minutes, you must do a good rechecking of your paper, right? Ensure that you revisit your calculation. There's one more thing, students. I have seen students doing the calculations on the very last page, which is not at all advisable. Because when you flip the pages to copy down the calculations, it may be possible that you copy down wrong values, okay? And that will actually make your whole answer wrong. So it's better that you make the calculation column on every sheet on the right side of the paper. Do the calculation there, do the calculations neatly so that you can revisit them, Next point is students that attempt familiar questions, as I already said, and if you are stuck with a question, you can leave it for the time being, leave some space to finish it, and then you can come back to that. After that, students, let me talk about the time management thing. It's really important to give sufficient time to every section. If you'll spend too much of time on a particular section, of course, you won't be able to write proper answers for the other sections, right? So here I have given an approximate time for each and every section, how much you can spend for a particular section. So for section A, students, you can actually spend 45 minutes. So approximately 2 minutes for every question. Then for the section B, where you will be getting 2-mark questions, there will be 5 questions and you can spend 15 minutes, as you're not supposed to write too much in these pattern of questions. 3-mark questions, students, it needs detailed solutions. So you can spend 40 minutes over here. And 5-mark questions, students, they are generally important questions and very, questions which are very much, that yes, they are going to be there in the exam, familiar questions. So again over here, but a detailed solution is required. So 30 minutes you can spend over here. And section E, students, case study based question, 1 mark and 2 mark. So again, 30 minutes will be more than sufficient. Why 30 minutes? Because you have to read the passage also, what information is given. So reading takes time. That is why this section, where the number of questions are not very lengthy, but reading information is required. So 30 minutes. And like this, students, you can complete your test paper in 160 minutes, and then again you will be left with 20 minutes, which you can spend on rechecking of your paper and completing the missing parts of the questions and revisiting your calculations. So this is how you're going to spend those 180 minutes of yours in the examination hall. Now, once we know that how much time we need to spend, there are some more do's and don'ts, students. If you are stuck on a question, leave it and again come to the same question later on. After that, ensure for every graph you are using pencil to draw the graphs. Make sure you are using a sharp pencil, writing the scales properly, writing the coordinates, marking the XOX dash and YOY dash line, and as well as writing all the proper labeling of your graph paper. Okay, so that is required. Ensure that we are writing proper units with every question whenever and wherever it's required. Also, students, mention the theorems and the reasoning with every question, and according to the marks you have to write the reasoning. Okay, if it's a 2-mark, then the main reasoning is supposed to be required. But if it's a 5-mark and 3-mark question, then wherever in steps we are supposed to write a particular reason, we should write in detail. Okay. Also, in examination paper, students, you are supposed to use only 2 colors, a black pen and a blue pen. So blue ink is supposed to be used to write the whole paper, and the black can be used for headings only. Okay, so you have to write with the blue ink. And the figures you have to draw with only pencil, students. You cannot use pen for that. Similarly, the graph papers you have to draw with pencil only. Okay, and the writing part has to be done with blue ink only. Okay, so this is what you have to take care of. And students, very, very important thing is, don't leave any question unattempted. Whatever you know, just write. Why it is important? Because let's say a particular question goes into bonus. If you didn't attempt it, you will not get the bonus marks at all. Another thing is, let the teacher decide whether the question's answer is correct or not. Okay, so whatever you know about the chapter, just write it properly. Okay, and yes, students, tie your sheets properly in the correct order. If you have taken the supplementary sheets, please tie them properly in the given time. At the end moment, if you do so, the order could be wrong, and your sheets may get teared up sometimes in a hurry. So please properly 5 minutes prior, when the teacher is asking, tie them properly in the correct order. Okay, that's all from my side, students, and I hope that you will find these tips and tricks really helpful in the finally writing your examination. All the very best from my end, and stay tuned with us. If you have any query or suggestion, students, you can write in the comment box and we'll be replying it in 24 hours. Thank you so much.